Hi everyone, today I'm at the beach and I'm going to take you through a sequence that can work with your mobility, flexibility and strength to improve your surfing. I hope you enjoy it.
On all fours, we'll begin to loosen up the wrists, turning the fingers in to face each other and leaning from side to side. Then turn your fingers forward and then out to the sides. Now turn them towards you and then back out to the sides again and to face the front. Bring the back of the hand to the ground with the fingers facing you, keeping the elbow straight. If it's difficult to do that, have the hand closer to your legs. Tuck the toes under and come to kneeling, rolling the shoulders, and then rebalancing on the balls of the feet, strengthening and mobilizing the ankles by moving from side to side. And this is something you can build up to doing for even 1 to 3 minutes. Step forward with your right foot flat and tucking the left toes under, slowly unfold the legs and then come back down again. The front foot is quite close to the back knee, although your legs are hip width apart. This is all about learning to come into a movement that is driven by the legs. Like a pop-up, we want to let the legs bring us up first. And then bending the front knee. Breathe here. Try to keep your back heel on the ground to feel that you can stretch the calf. And then folding forward from the hips with a long spine, find the ground again with your fingertips. You're welcome to use blocks underneath your hands if the ground feels too far away and you prefer a bit of height, especially if your hips or hamstrings are quite tight. So we're changing legs, and now the same thing, going up and down slowly and just really getting the feel of unfolding from the legs while lengthening through the spine, so we can free up and release the lower back. We really want to have a lot of freedom there for many of the movements that we need for surfing. And now coming to bend that front knee again, taking the arms up. Feet are alive and in touch with the ground. Slowly folding forward, touching the ground and returning to your starting position. Have a rest in child's pose, either with your knees parallel or big toes touching and knees wide. And then we're going to come again onto all fours. Tuck the toes under. And we're just first of all focusing on the breath and feeling the support of the ground. Turn to one side. Bring the hand to the back of your hip. So we are revolving through the chest, opening the chest out to the side, spiraling through the spine. And now we can do the same movement but with a straight arm. So there's a lot more force on the torso here. If it feels like too much for your shoulders or your body, then do it with a bent arm, still keeping the hand on the back of the hip. So this is something you can progress to. Unfold into dog pose. It's fine to keep your knees bent in dog pose, especially if your lower back is tight or your hamstrings are tight. And now sway your weight slightly forward into the hands and back into the feet. So we're bringing more focus into weight bearing with the arms. And then lift onto the balls of the feet and make a rippling movement that takes you into plank. So we ripple through a cat pose into a more neutral position of the spine, engaging the front of the body. This is a kneeling plank. We're still very active in the front of the body. And then come to rest in child's pose. Coming up again onto all fours, step your left foot out to the sides. The foot turned at a 45-degree angle to free up the front of the hip And you can then come up and really lean into it so your hands are on your legs. And we are really mobilizing the hips, practicing different types of movement. So this is internal rotation, swiveling the knee in, and you can come onto the edge of the foot as you do this. So you can let the sole of the foot lift up. That internal rotation it's an uncommon movement, but in surfing it's actually quite common, especially when turning. The back leg often does that internal rotation. So we're leaning onto the front foot, opening and freeing up the hips to prepare us for moving the legs around more. And they're again internally rotating, so bring the knee in towards the midline, but try to keep your pelvis facing forward so the pelvis doesn't go with the hip. We're moving from the top of the thigh. Slowly unfold again into dog pose. Take some breaths here. Just allow your weight to flow down into your hands and into your feet. And lift the left leg up. And feeling lots of length from the toes to the hands. Breathing here. We're going to be taking that left leg forward, bending the knee like we want to touch the upper left arm with the kneecap. We're rounding the back as we come forward and lengthening it as we go back. And then taking your knee across towards the opposite arm. So this is also mimicking some of the movement we would need in a pop-up where there's a rotational element as we bring the leg through. And rest into child's pose. Breathe, return to the present moment. Pause, and then come up again. Unfolding again into dog pose. Slowly, when you're ready, we're going to lift the right leg up. And the same movements on this side now. So taking the leg forward as you round the back, as if you want to put the knee on the upper arm on that right side. Feel how your spine lengthens and then rounds. And then we're practicing taking the leg across to the opposite side. So the beauty of a yoga sequence is that it's symmetrical. We can do a movement on one side and then the other. And this is really good for balancing the asymmetrical nature of surfing, where we've always, most of us, got one leg in front. And it can just create issues in the hips. So we want to try and do the same thing with both sides to rebalance the body. Coming back to a dog pose. Slowly lifting the left leg again. And this time we're going to swing that left leg right through and step it down next to the left hand. Tuck your back toes under, lift the back knee and walk your hands onto your front thigh. And you can then, if you're feeling balanced, we're going to take the arms in circles to free the shoulders and open the upper chest, opposite to the forward movement of paddling. So it actually helps to release tension caused by paddling. Here you can have your hands on blocks if you like. Keep that front foot flat as you take your weight into a lunge and then back into the back foot. Now we're coming into a gentle back bend, going back again, sitting towards the heel and then reaching up in a very soft back bend. Once again, complementary movements for the spine. So we're beginning to enliven the spine. Stay in that lunge and then step back to your dog pose. Let's change legs. Taking the right leg up, swing it through, step your right foot next to your right hand. Climb your hands onto your front thigh, lift the back knee. Find your stability here. So there's also an element of balance with this. When we're moving the arms, we need to be strong and stable with the legs. Finding lots of power there. Return your hands to the ground And let's go into that back and forth movement again, where we're sitting towards the heel and then we're coming forward into the lunge. Going back and forth, feeling how the spine moves along, follows the body. Then we can take the arms up and down. Exhaling as you reach up, just feeling that your spine will follow what the hips are doing. So it moves naturally into a back bend. Come back into a dog pose again. Really, I'm just moving the head around to free the neck, feeling the weight of the head just hanging down, and then walking your hands 1 or 2 steps forward, rippling through the spine into a plank again. Being very active and engaged with the front of the body. We're going to now work even more on upper body strength by taking one arm up as we rotate the chest. So it's similar to what we did on all fours at the beginning, but now there's the extra challenge of keeping a plank while we move the upper body. And come down into a kneeling plank for a moment, breathe there, and then rest again in child's pose. In your child's pose, have soft elbows. We're now going to be practicing this. It's a kind of snake-like movement as we keep the chest low. The hips want to go down last if you can. Bend the elbows. Keep them close to your body so they're not winging out to the sides. And when you come up into that cobra, it's okay to have the elbows slightly bent. It's actually better than locking the elbows. Feel the shoulders releasing away from your ears in your cobra. So there's lots of freedom at the sides of the neck. Moving with your breath, taking time to pause and breathe, resting when you need to. Coming into child's pose now, take the hands behind you, link the fingers and lift the arms as high as you comfortably can away from your lower back. So once again we're working on freeing up the front of the chest, the area that becomes tight from a lot of paddling. Slither down back to the ground again, lying on your front. Rest the head, rest your hips on the ground. Rest the feet. And start to play with lifting the head. Feel that the movement is coming from your upper spine. Lift the head and bring it down. And then lifting it again. Become a bit higher to rest on the elbows. In a very soft Sphinx pose. Feel your shoulder blades sliding down your back. And turn to look back over one shoulder towards your little toe and then go to the other side. So this is again a bit like a paddling movement because we're keeping the pelvis and legs stable, but we are twisting the upper body as we back bend. Now taking one arm back and then the other, paddling with one arm at a time, keeping your upper body in the Sphinx pose, so you raise through the chest and strong through the legs. Legs are grounded, we're not lifting them here. The feet are heavy as we take both arms back into a variation of locust pose. And then come all the way back and rest into child's pose again. And we'll finish by a bit more hip opening, so stepping the left foot out, foot at 45 degrees. Move your right hand quite far forward, lift your right lower leg off the ground, and reach that left arm back to find your right foot. If it's difficult to catch your foot, you can loop a strap around it, or just get the visualization that you're going to catch your foot one day. Doesn't have to happen today. Really notice how the pelvis can drop quite forward to give you more space to rotate. Breathe as the chest opens. And then you can come back one last time to rest into child's pose with bent elbows, soft arms. Walk your hands over to the left as far as you comfortably can, hovering the head above the ground. And then walk over to the right and do the same thing. And you can then slowly roll back up